Sports fans,
Sports lovers.
welcome back to another episode of Global Sports from a Caribbean perspective, the place where we break down the best games, provide you with the best takes from the best players, the best leagues, the best games all across the world on a Caribbean perspective. I'm your host today, Shabba, and I'm here with
Dops.
and we are here to break down game week 10 of the Vinci Soccer Premier League, which delivered late drama, huge results in the title race, big individual performances once again, and another statement showing from the league leaders. Let's get straight into the action as we will start with Layou FC, who took on Jebelle FC on Friday. What a turnaround for Jebelle FC. Layou looked to be in complete control after the deadly Kobe Mingo fired them ahead right before halftime. And at that stage, it felt as though Layou were going to bounce back from last week's disappointment. But Jebelle showed resilience and character. Devante McDowell pulled them level late in the contest before Ashano Benjamin stunned Layou with a winner in the dying moments. For Layou, this one will hit badly from leading at halftime to losing late is a massive blow in the title race. However, for Jebelle, this was revenge after that heavy 4-1 defeat they were inflicted on earlier against Layou. So a huge statement victory for Jebelle and a massive blow to Layou's title chances.
Yeah, one that I didn't see coming last week. I have to give a lot of credit and shout out and respect to Jebelle for that performance. You should have put the game away already. And they didn't, and Jebelle capitalized on that, and it must give them huge respect for pulling it back, for sticking in the game so long, and not letting their heads drop, and taking the game away from Layou was a huge blow. 7 points back now of System 3. So hopefully in games to come they could rethink things and see how they could tweak things for the betterment, and see how they could push themselves back into the title race.
Yeah, Layou seem to be a team that, when things are going good for them, they are flying, goals are going in from Mingo, Ledgerwood. But when they're a bit challenged and having to put in a bit of a fight, maybe that's where they're lacking a bit. Because a lot of us would have thought that, after them going up 1-0, and as you mentioned, they had chances to go up further. Most would have thought that Jebelle would basically, back down from the challenge at that point. However, as mentioned, they equalized late through Devante McDowell that was scored in the 88th minute, and then the winner was scored in the 88th minute. So following Delano Benjamin's goal the week before, when he scored the free kick later on as well. So this is back-to-back weeks now where Jebelle have showed a lot of resiliency and character to win games late. So maybe while they might not be able to push System 3, any further, it was a very, very good win from them, I'd have to say. And as for Layou, as we mentioned, this is a real blow to their title charge. As you mentioned, now they're 7 points behind System 3. They still have another fixture against System 3 to play, and about 7 games remaining in the second round, but it's going to be an uphill battle for them. And speaking of statement performances, the league leaders once again had a certain man leading the charge. As Zeno Solomon returned after missing last week's performance against Awesome to return and immediately remind the league why he's the league's best player. The System 3 forward delivered a clinical hat-trick, scoring in the 34th, the 45th, and the 66th minute to take his tally for the season to 18 goals. A stunning 18 goals. Besco responded through Oraldo Campbell, who headed home from a quality delivery to briefly make things interesting, but overall System 3 controlled the match comfortably. Another huge 3 points for the leaders as they continue to tighten their grip on top of the table. So I don't think this is anything surprising. Azino Salomon returned and showed his quality. What more can we say? The league's best player, the top scorer by far. In his absence last week, System 3 showed their depth and quality in abundance by dispatching Awesome with ease. And now he's back. He scored three wonderful goals, 3 different goals. One was at the near post, one was when he cut back the defender in the box, and one was a header. So he's showing his array of finishes. We mentioned earlier on in the season that maybe the VSPL is a bit too easy for him because he isn't looking as though he's putting in much effort. If we're being real here, to get his goals. But credit to him, credit to the team for for marching on.
Yeah, absolutely. Big up Zeno once again. There were questions. Well, I had in my head, how would System 3 look without? That box is checked. They look brilliant. And then he's back. And they fit right back in seamlessly. Chemistry is on 100%. So there's not more I think I could say about System 3 championship pedigree. Besco Pastures I thought would have, put up a bit more of a fight, especially in the manner they were dealt with in the first round of fixtures. And quickly, wouldn't say quickly, I mean half an hour in, so you could see that there was some resistance, but after the 34th minute, that was all she wrote, and Oraldo came back with a goal.
Well taken goal.
That was a consolation to City Lee. So credit to Besco for trying their best, but I mean System 3 and Solomons are miles ahead.
Yeah, they're unstoppable, and it's not a case where Besco did not put up a good fight or a good effort. They played very well in comparison to the first time these teams met earlier on in the season, and this result is no shame on them. It's not necessarily a reflection on how good they are, because we've seen their quality throughout the season so far, and System 3 is just on another level. Now, while System 3 are continuing to set the pace, the defending champions were making moves on their own. They took on Bequia United in the first game on Sunday, and they really displayed a ruthless performance. Cortland Williams opened the scoring early in the 11th minute and added a second in the 64th minute to put Predators in firm control. Even after going down to 10 men following Chanice Fraser's red card, Predators never lost control of the game. Captain DL Springs stepped up late on with goals in the 80th and 88th minute to completely seal the result. Bequia's frustrations boiled over as Carlos Simmons also saw red late in the match. So, one game which we both predicted correctly, a comfortable victory for the defending champions. Might be a bit too little, too late in terms of them trying to retain that crown. However, it was a very impressive performance on their end.
Yeah, for sure. There was someone who stood out to me apart from Cortland Williams, and I can't remember seeing him appear in too many games before. He probably slipped by me, but I can't remember seeing him appear in too many games before. But he's a quality player from my knowledge of him playing against him before, and it was always a wonder to me, where was he? Is it an injury or so? So it's good to see him back and making such an impact. Bequia are dreadful.
That's putting it lightly.
Defending and going forward, they can't seem to connect dots. And it's quite easy to say that their avenues seem like they have secured these two seller positions, these two bottom spots, unless there's a whole transformation of the way they approach games, or if there's someone who could come in to make an impact. I can't see any light there for this team really and truly going forward. So it's something the coach needs to work on.
Okay.
If he wants to, if he wants to stay in the Premier League, because these are not the kind of performances that keep you here. Credit again, respect again to North Leeward Predators for not playing with the food and dealing with Bequia United in the manner that they were supposed to.
The finishes from DL, I wanted to highlight them because they were great finishes, both of them. He took them like strikers. He took them like a striker would. And he really has that clinical edge to him when he gets in and around the area. And his quality just was on full display. And as you mentioned about Bequia, they're dreadful. We have seen some fight from them this season, but of late, over the past, let's say 5 or so game weeks, they've been, not putting up much of a resistance. And I don't think you went out on a limb there by saying that they and Avenues would be the two teams destined for the drop this season, as they've shown to be consistently bad. And speaking of Avenues, right, they certainly, one could say, delivered the match of the weekend this weekend as they took on Awesome FC. Another tough defeat, but give them credit, they fought until the end. Awesome FC started brightly through Giovanni Enville, who opened the scoring before Ode Cupid doubled their advantage. Chad Straw then made it 3-0 in the 55th minute, and at that point it looked done and dusted. But Avenues responded late. Nyan Byron pulled one back late after a brilliant run and delivery from Michael Kwasi, who then got himself on the score sheet with a header in the 85th minute to create a tense ending. Despite the late pressure, however, Arsenal held on for all 3 points as Avenues remain glued to the bottom of the table. So, clinical finishing again from Enville, who now has about 5 goals, I think, for the season. The influential Chad Straw with his name on the scoreboard again. But the coach, Dutchade, in goal again for Avenues United. He seems to be their number one goalkeeper at the moment. Gamal Francis wasn't his
He was
influential
the coach.
right, so he wasn't able to play. So where do we take it from here? Because Arsenal would obviously be the happier with the result and their season thus far. But what do you make of Avenues?
I think with Avenues, at least you could see what they are trying to do in comparison with Bequia.
True.
You could see that they know they could hold teams, especially with Hector on the dead ball in a dead ball situation, even from long distances, and not directly on goal, but whipping it at the back post or just putting it into areas where it could cause some trouble. That seemed to have been a positive recently, and we indicated that in the last episode where we noticed that goals come from set pieces. But I noticed specifically in this match, they were a little bit better.
Avenues.
Yeah, a bit more precise, a bit more. What I say, the players had a bit more desire to go and try to get the ball, even though they know they were 3-1 down or 3-0 down. They still had that fight. So where Bequia is concerned, they seem to go out with whimpers, and if they score first, then and the team scores back, and then that's the game. Avenue still try to stick in there and try to fight, and I must give respect where it's due, where that is concerned. And yeah, shout out to Awesome. Shout out to Ode Cupid. I was wondering if it was on the Falter hidden goal or it was a brilliant goal. And I think I would give the striker the striker off the ball the benefit of the doubt. It was a really, really nice move inward. He knew what he was gonna do from he made the first step inward, and I think the connection was brilliant, and he had made a brilliant effort to try to get there, but he had no chance. So shout out to Cupid. We knew what we were gonna get from Enville and Strasbourg, as we have been seeing for the entire season. And Enville is pretty deadly, if I do say so myself. He, especially against centre backs, is a handful, quite a handful, and I think is one of the type of strikers that the national team should look at. I mean, this is with more production from him.
Obviously, yes.
He does look like something that we could work with and something that we could maybe develop into, a national striker of Simmons and Grenady. So shout out to Enville and shout out to Awesome for getting the 3 goals and not letting Avenues come right back into it, because we've seen it happen before for the season.
Definitely agree with a lot of the points that you made there, especially. Well, I want to touch on them one by one. I agree with the point that you made about Enville, and while you were speaking, I actually had him in mind to mention because we spoke to him before the season began, and he had, high aspirations in terms of a goal target, in terms of beating double figures for the season. So he's almost halfway there. He's doing a great job in terms of his style of play outside of just scoring as well, as you mentioned. He's a big battering ram type of a striker. May not always be the best technically with the ball at his feet. However, he has a great strike on him, I'd say. So I'm really glad that you highlighted him because he has been one of the more outstanding number 9s, I'd have to say, in the tournament thus far. We wouldn't really consider Azino to be a number 9. We'd consider him like a 10, half 9 type player. He's not really a number 9. So aside from Enville, I don't think there's been a better. Well, Kobe Mengo from Layou as well. I don't think there's been 3, 4, 5 strikers better than Enville thus far this season. So shout out to him. And as you mentioned, depending on his age and fit with the team, and so could be one we can potentially develop into a intention strike, a national team striker, because that's what we've been missing for the past few years. as well as the point you mentioned about avenues not giving up late in games, like what we've seen from Bequia basically, and they've always seemed to find a way to get a goal. Whether it be from a set piece, as we saw centre back Kwashi, and shout out to Michael Kwashi, centre back who got himself a goal and assist. So they always seem to be able to get a goal somehow or the other by just fighting tooth and nail. But they're obviously lacking in a lot of quality, and that's the reason why they're rooted to the bottom of the table. It's gonna be a hard time for them, if we're being honest, to get back to the Premier Division, following the upcoming relegation, if we're being real, because we know how hard it is in the second tier at the moment, just with the amount of teams that are there. So it's going to be sad to see them leave the Premier Division after being the most decorated team, the most historic team in SVG's club football history. But this is what they have reduced themselves to, and that's the reality that they're going to have to accept when that time does come. So moving on to the final fixture from game week 10, which saw Hope International take on Camdonia Chelsea. Game finished in a stalemate. A physical and tightly contested battle ended scoreless between Hope and Camdonia. Both sides had moments, but neither could find the quality needed in the final third. Defensively, both teams stayed organized, while Hope goalkeeper Elron Baptiste was named man of the match after an outstanding performance between the sticks. In the end, both teams will leave with a point in a hard-fought stalemate. So who's happier with this point?
I would say Hope. And I want to shout out the keeper because it's not often in the division where we get man of the match keepers, especially how I've been going on. And
rightfully so as well.
The quality of the keeper. So shout out Elron Baptiste for the man of the match performance. But yeah, I think Hope would be happier. And I'm only going with Hope being happier because Chelsea had the better of the exchanges.
True.
They could have been 2-3 goals up in the first half alone. I think that they really missed that clinical edge. They just missed shots, a lot of chances, skewed a lot of balls, and sometimes it looked like the ball was on a plate for them, and they just scuffed it, sent it over the post. So it was really, really, really poor finishing. I'm pretty sure the coach was be very, very upset with this just 1 point, especially how they have been on red hot farm, really and truly in the last few games. I think he would be really disappointed with the scoreline. Hope would be happy because they didn't pose as much of a threat as Camdonia did. I can't really remember 2 or 3 clear-cut chances from them.
True.
Yeah, as I said at the beginning, Chelsea had the better of the exchanges and should have gotten the 3 points.
Yeah, Hope will definitely be happy with the point, and they'd be flattered, actually, with the point based on the performances of the teams out there. As you mentioned, and as we mentioned as well in last week's episode, that Camdonia were coming into the game as the informed team here, basically. Both teams were coming into the game with a win, but Camdonia's run of form was way better than Hope's, especially considering the play on the field, not just the results, the performances as well. So Hope would definitely consider themselves very lucky to come away with a point here, but they'd also be happy considering the 2 teams below them both lost this weekend, so they could consider that a point gained on the bottom 2 in terms of saving themselves from relegation. They're now 6 points off of the relegation zone. So while they would definitely not reach the soaring heights that they would have aspired to before the season, they'll definitely not be dropping. Well, at the moment, we can say that they won't be dropping to the lower tier. So much for them to work on ahead of next season. I'd have to say that Hope would already be planning for. And as for Camdonia, a very impressive performance, just unlucky to get the win.
Just another thing on Hope, Shab. It's real weird to me too that watching Hope play and knowing the standard that they keep in terms of the philosophy, the ball they play, how they win the ball back, how they pass the ball around. This is not Hope International.
True.
The Hope I played against, the Hope I've watched, the Hope that's won titles. This is not the Hope International that we know, and it's weird in the sense that we know them. They were able to bring in quality players, from all over. I mean, and I know that now Layou probably had a team. It's a little more difficult to pry players from Layou and the likes. But it's just weird to me watching them. They can't string passes from through their midfield to the attack unless the number 10, Millington, unless he comes into the midfield and tries to do something. It really doesn't look like anything happened. Wilkes looks like where the ball ends up.
Yeah, he's a threat.
You get me? But apart from that, from defense to midfield to attack, there's a disconnect, and I feel like that's where it needs to start. They need to find the players to really fit into the midfield, to who are comfortable on the ball and able to make passes, because from what I've seen in this for the entire season, that has been a critical and glaring issue for them.
Most definitely. And as we mentioned with Avenues a while ago, I've Hope have a great heritage in terms of Vincentian and club football history. And as you mentioned, they would pride themselves on playing football in a certain way. We spoke to Akin before the season as well, and that's one of the things that he mentioned, that they always try to play a certain style, attractive type football. And what we're seeing on the field, the product that they're currently presenting is not a representation of what Hope International is usually has to offer. They have a lot of quality in terms of names, and likes of Tevin Thompson, who is a national player, Raleigh Bradshaw, Nyran Delpech. They have a lot of good players on paper, at least. But just getting the right fit seems to be the issue. I haven't seen Valdo Anderson for the past two or so games, so I'm not certain what's up there. But he's also a big miss, not just in terms of his quality, but in terms of leadership as well, because he's been there and done that. Right, and this team, would appear to be a bit younger and less experienced where the Premier Division is concerned. So maybe that is what is holding them back at the moment. They've played 10 games as far this season and have only won 2. And they have a negative 8 goal difference. So I'm certain that's not where they would have envisioned themselves before the season. However, they still have a few games to improve their point total and their goal difference and their position in the table before the season ends. And that wraps up game week 10. After 10 weeks, System 3 remains on top with 25 points with a plus 27 goal difference. Predators move into second with 19 points, 6 points behind the league leaders, while Layou and Jebelle are tied on 18 points each. Awesome climb up to 14. Besco remain on 13. Camdonia move to 12. Hope are on 10, while Bequia and Avenues remain in the relegation spots. In the race for the Golden Boot, Azino Salman is still leading the way on 18 goals. That is double the total of the second place, Kobe Mingo and DL Spring, who both have 9. So Kobe Mingo and DL Spring together have the goals that Azino Salman has on his own.
Team of the week.
Yeah, go ahead.
Team of the week goes to Jebelle, a comeback win against challengers Layou with goals in the 80th and 88th minute. Massive character shown from the Green Machine. And the player of the week, you guessed it.
No prizes for guessing.
Tell us any comments.
Who you think?
Yeah, a hat-trick on his return. 18 goals now for the season. Simply sensational. Big up again, Azino Salaman. Bonus player of the week. Keeper between the sticks again. Elran Baptiste. From Hope International. That's my bonus player of the week.
So now looking ahead to game week 11 of Vinci Soccer Premier League, these games are slated to take place at Independence Park after they took place at the Brighton Technical Facility last weekend. So in the first fixture, we'll see Jebelle FC take on System 3 FC. The last time these two teams met, they played out an explosive 3-3 draw, while Jebelle are also coming off of a comeback victory. System 3 remain the strongest team in the league, of course. Can Jebelle handle the league leaders another setback, or will System 3 continue their dominance?
I think it could be another frustrating one for System 3 in terms of being able to break down Jebelle. But I think at the end of the day, it might be a bit too much. They might be able to catch them on the break and the quality might show. And I think System 3, I believe System 3 will come out with a 3-2 victory. I'm not going to say a clean sheet because we've seen in the past that they have given away they've had the customary lapse, they've given away the odd goal here and there. I think they've probably had one clean sheet, if any clean sheet. So yeah, so we know there's a chance to score on System 3, and I believe Jebelle could inflict 2 on them.
I could see this game being very frustrating for System 3 as well. Jebelle seem to have rounded themselves into some sort of form following a little mid-season dip. The last game ended in a 3-all draw. That's when Java Odin hit his hat trick. He's been a bit cool since. I think he only has 4 goals in total for the season. So maybe he has cooled off a bit. So maybe this is the game where he can get back on track. With that being said, I'm going to go with a close. I want Jebelle to win, if I'm being honest
To
here,
make
just for
it
the
interesting.
sake of the league. But all logic is telling me that System 3 is going to come away with a hard-fought 2-1 victory on Friday evening. So we'll move to the second fixture from Friday, which will see two Leeward teams clash. A massive clash between two teams with serious title ambitions, Layou versus the defending champions, North Leeward Predators. So Layou are looking to bounce back following their late collapse against Jebelle last week. Meanwhile, Predators are looking to maintain their form after defeating Bequia last week by 4-0. So the question here is, will Layou respond under pressure, or will the defending champs continue their run?
Neither.
Neither.
Yeah, I believe they will cancel out each other. Lee would try to come back more positively than the way they ended the last game. And of course, not Lee would want to continue on the what I would say hot scoring form. But I believe that think the quality is kind of not equal because I believe Lee has, of course, I've been saying on and on again, more firepower, but I believe the quality is even. It should be a very nice game for the neutral tactical battle, and I think it will just fizzle out into a draw. I would say 1-1.
It's going to be a tough clash. As you mentioned, both teams have, let's say, almost equal quality, where Lee would probably edge it in the forward areas, where I'd say Natalie would have them outmatched is just in terms of that little experience of winning the title last season. So it will be an interesting game. It will probably be the game of the weekend as well, in my opinion. But I'm going to go with the defending champions who showed great form last week against Bequia, albeit not against the greatest of opponents. But I could see not only what frustrating Layou here, and Predators coming away with a 1-0 victory, just edging it again. So we'll move on to the third fixture. These games will take place on Sunday, also at Independence Park. Besco Pastures will come up against Avenues United. So Besco desperately need a response after another defeat last week, while Avenues are still searching for their first win of the season despite showing signs of slight improvement recently. So is this the game that Avenues can finally get themselves a win?
As much as I would like them to, to make it a little interesting. I don't think so. I think Besco would have too much, and they will try to take advantage. They have a bit more quality. Benjamin, both of them have found their goal scoring touch.
As Jebelle.
Oh shoot,
Besco
Besco had the Nelson.
is on a red card currently. Augustus Adams on the legs. Kendall Boak, Chowda.
Yeah, I still feel like with what we've seen from Besco over the past season, the past few games, we are more likely to see them hit the back of the net than we are with Avenues. As much as we know Avenues would fight and try tooth and nail to score a goal, I don't think they would have enough. They really haven't shown us that goal scoring quality throughout the season, and I think they really need that. Unless they could identify a weakness in Besco Pastures, as I said, with the set pieces and see how they could drill balls into the box and try to hold Besco as much as they can. I really don't feel they have enough, and I think Besco will come with a 2-0 victory.
I am gonna tend to agree because what we've seen from both teams thus far this season would only indicate a Besco victory here. But as we've mentioned, Avenues have been fighting more recently, and Besco are coming off of a tough defeat. A defeat that they probably would have expected, to be fair. And they definitely look at this Avenues game as an opportunity for 3 points and a boost of their goal difference. But I could see Avenues, showing some sort of pride and showing the fight that we've seen in the past few weeks from them and getting a draw here. It would be a tightly contested affair because these teams, there's no love lost between the two teams. So I could certainly see it being a physical encounter as well, and it petering out into a 1-1 draw. Move on to the second fixture from Sunday, which will see Bequia United take on Hope International. Both teams are really struggling, I'd say, and are fighting for crucial points near the bottom of the table. But Bequia remain winless while Hope picked up an important victory. Can Bequia finally break their winless streak, or will Hope continue to build momentum?
I think this is a game Hope should win with the quality of players they have. They can't allow it to become a broken game. It must be a game that they take control of and capitalize on any chances that they create. I believe if it becomes a broken game where it's end to end and they allow chances to fall to the likes of Mark Brown, who has been misfiring recently, he still has the quality to hold them. So I really feel like they need to control the game, because I know for sure Bequia wouldn't be doing that.
True.
So Hope needs to control the game, take the opportunities, and then I should bring them the win. Can they do that? They haven't shown me that. With that being said, it could be a broken game, so I go in 3-2 Hope. I go in 3-2 Hope.
3-2. The onus is definitely on Hope to get a victory here, be the team to play the better football, be on the front foot, and get a comfortable victory here based on what we've seen from Bequia and what we've discussed about them. I don't want to say that Bequia is currently at a stage where they've given up, but we're not too far from that, if we're being honest. And a victory, for Hope could basically put Bequia out of their misery for the rest of the season. That would create an even bigger gap between them and Hope International at the foot of the table.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see that being extra motivation for Hope to get a victory in this game. So I could see a comfortable 2-0 victory for Hope International as they escape further away from Bequia and the relegation zone. So we move on to the last fixture of the weekend, which will see Awesome FC take on Camdonia Chelsea. So two unpredictable teams meeting in what could be one of the most physical battles of the weekend. Awesome have looked dangerous going forward with the likes of Enville and Stra, while Camdonia continue their resurgence after a very rough start to the season. So which team handles the pressure better, and who do you see coming out victorious?
I would put my money on Awesome FC.
Right?
I know what I get from them. I know they could terrorize any defense in the league. Bequia still working things out as much as Chelsea still working things out as much as they have been on red hot form. That game against Hope, as I said, was there for the taking. And if I am going off of that last game, I believe I have to go with the hot shots of Awesome FC. Maybe Chelsea could get a goal. I mean, because especially all in the season, Awesome was a very steely and tight defense. And in some games, they still show that they can lock in and shut up shop.
Very true.
So yeah, it's gonna be. I think this might be the best game of the weekend, honestly speaking. I think it's gonna be a 2-1 victory for Awesome FC.
Awesome. Okay, and I'm gonna go in the opposite direction simply because I could see the grit and determination of Camdonia and their defense, while they might not be as big of names on paper as the likes of Stra and Enville based on their goal scoring numbers and what they've done thus far this season, what I'm seeing from Camdonia is very, very encouraging. Right? They've been, as we mentioned in the intro to the game, both teams are a bit unpredictable. But I'd say that in the past few games since Chelsea have, rediscovered their form after the shaky start, I'd say that they've been very consistent in what we're seeing from them. Maybe not always scoring the goals and having the wins to back up their performances, but just in terms of performances, I think they've been very consistent, very fighting, just having a lot of energy, and they don't give up, and they're not going to give up in this game, despite probably being the underdog in this fixture. So I could see Camdonia edging this game again very closely. This is going to be the second game I'm going to predict to go 1-0. So if they do go ahead and hold out the likes of Stra and Enville, they would definitely deserve their victory, and that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, just want to shout out the captain, Cutler, in midfield again. He really had a brilliant performance against Hope International. Outstanding. The things he did, he was pressured by two people and he still was able to escape, come out of that pressure and able to play a key pass, that led to good things for Chelsea. So I think that I keep saying that these kind of performances from midfielders go under the radar, and I don't think Chelsea could function without him. I think he's the real focus of the team, and everything actually runs through him, whether it's on the defensive side or from the attacking point of view. So I just want to shout out Cutler again. I think is the number 16, the captain for Chelsea.
Yeah, and that is a look forward to the games that are coming up on this weekend in game week 11 of the Vinci Soccer Premier League, and we also looked back at game week 10 fixtures. Before we go, Dopey has a few things that he'd like to share.
When I was younger, bro, long distance running was synonymous with one man, Pamenos Ballantyne. And I personally feel we don't do a good job in recognizing people who have put us on the map, who have done the colors of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I think that a better job must be done in recognizing him. And this is my opportunity on this platform to give Pamenos Ballantyne his flowers. So just stick with me for one moment. He was renowned for his dominance in Caribbean Marathon. He represented St. Vincent and Grenadines twice at the Olympics. He competed at the 96 Atlanta Olympics and was the flag bearer in the 2000 Sydney Olympics. In 1996, it was St. Vincent's debut in the event, and he finished 95th. And in 2000, he finished 34th, 64 places better than 4 years prior. Throughout his career, he secured numerous regional titles. 7 in Trinidad, where he still has records. 4 in Jamaica, 5 in Barbados, 11 OECS titles. And he's the 2004 OECS Sports Personality of the Year. He also holds the national records in the 5,000 meters, 5K, 10K, 15K, and half marathon. After retiring from competitive running, he transitioned into coaching, and he helped numerous runners go, on scholarships and go to university. So more emphasis was placed on long distance running in rural areas, and he introduced long distance running and races into primary schools. In 2005, he still continues coaching, including guiding sprinter Kyle Lawrence to a US scholarship. So I just want to shout out Pamenos Ballantyne in whatever way, form, shape we could do it. Give the money flowers, whether it's the park out country, Sandy Bay, wherever he resides, wherever he's from, wherever he's based. Whether it's a street,
A pavilion,
a
stand,
a
shop,
get the money flowers.
Something, bro.
These are the people who deserve it. And going forward, are going to shed light and more of these
Greats, legends,
and basically
Legends.
national heroes.
yeah, legends.
You know, so once more I say, hand them the bouquet now, while he could smell them.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Don't wait until people are gone to show them the flowers. And I just want to echo that piece sentiments because growing up as a youngster as well, Pamenos was synonymous with anything long distance running. So before I knew about who even Mofara was internationally, I knew about Pamenos Ballantyne locally. That is someone who is definitely should be regarded as a sporting legend slash hero slash icon in this country. And we don't, as Dopy mentioned, we don't do a good enough job in highlighting these folks, these men and women, right? So now that we have a platform where we can shout them out, because these are things that we discuss amongst ourselves off camera. So now that we have something that can be put out there, and maybe this can even reach to Pamenos, we're just acknowledging your greatness, what you've done for yourself and for the country throughout your entire life and career as a runner and an athlete. So shout out to you, Pamenos. And as Dappy mentioned, we'll have a lot more shout outs in the weeks and months and years to come. And that wraps up another episode of Global Sports from a Caribbean perspective, the place where we break down the best games, the best teams, the best players, provide you with the best takes, all on a Caribbean perspective. I was your host today, Shabba, and I was here with
Dops.
Be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, do whatever it takes to get on this global sports from a Caribbean perspective rampage. One global.